Good Wednesday midday to you. Roger Hill at Wuthering Heights. This Philco Weather Hazards Outlook is valid the rest of today, Wednesday through Monday, May the 9th. No big utility impacts are anticipated through Monday. Kind of a gloomy, unsettled stretch. Relatively benign weather as far as utilities go, but generally light, showery episodes are expected without any one day staying completely dry in Vermont and the northeast U.S. in general. Breezy to windy conditions may return, it looks like, for Sunday afternoon as well as Monday afternoon. Wet snow may once again dust up some of our mountain summits, but will have no impacts for utilities. That could happen during Monday morning. Temperatures to average below normal in general, but closer to seasonal values by the time we get into next Monday. We're looking at the GFS ensemble here centered on Burlington, Vermont. Just call your attention here. There's still some very minor outlying whiskers here showing up where we could see a little bit of wet snow on some of our mountaintops, generally above 3,000 feet, but nothing to worry in terms of utility hazards. Looking at the large-scale features, we have a big fat ridge up the Rockies and the Plain States, trough of lower pressure off to the west coast, the far western coast, and then of course a trough of lower pressure again immediately east of that ridge, and it's just pouring very chilly air down into this mean wave trough and swinging that up across this region. Picks up a little bit of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, from the Atlantic, and we get periodic rain showers. No change in this general large-scale weather feature until a cold front's going to move through along about Saturday night and into Sunday morning. That'll change up a few of the things, and other than that, we're kind of stuck. And this does coincide with some of the research done by Rutgers University, Dr. Jennifer Francis, with some effects from the Arctic sea ice melting, and that is also happening and taking place, and it slows the jet stream. The jet stream becomes blocky, and that typically happens in the spring anyway, but these are the conditions we're starting to see. Incidentally, there's quite a bit of wildfires in some parts of Alberta, northern Alberta at that, and some of that smoke is probably going to get embedded in and trained. And looking at the 500 millibar thicknesses, you can see kind of a long wave trough here in this position, and of course that ridge of higher pressure that's been jutting well up into parts of the Yukon, and then a trough of lower pressure off the west coast. This weather pattern is very blocky, a big block of higher pressure located over the north central Atlantic Ocean as well, and it's just congested and kind of a roadblock for these systems to work on out of the region. Taking a look at the progression, though, things do change, but it's kind of a slow change. We can see another cutoff low in an area of low pressure tracking near the coast of New England, and this will then kind of disperse. We'll see a little bit of a warm-up here, but then another long wave trough will start to develop along the east coast and toward the northeast United States, and this will continue to be plaguing our region right through about the 10th of May, before the weather pattern begins to break down and begin to have a little bit more of a change. And looking over the next 6 to 12 hours here, you can see some areas of rain showers kind of rotating around this upper low and this trough. And again, a couple different features here, but the general flow comes in aloft out of the south and southwest, and spreads precipitation, and it's going to be showery like this over the next probably at least 7 days. So this is valid later on this evening about 8 o'clock, and you can see some rain showers moving into Vermont. Then they'll move on out pretty quickly, and then most of the heavier rain showers are going to be off the coast. But this general area forces this trough of lower pressure in the upper levels. So this trough of lower pressure is just going to sort of pinwheel some moisture on an occasional basis. Nothing of anything really great shakes until we get this cold front. You can see this is moving on in and crosses through Vermont during the majority of Saturday night. That's through about 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. And then by about 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon, and then that moves on out, and then a little bit of potentially some wet snow in our upper summits here with this little secondary disturbance. That may or may not hold together, but you can see just how the weather systems are kind of forced and stretched. And this one is a pretty cold one for this time of year. This is the 9th of May on Monday, and again, we're talking about a little summit snow, just to kind of go back and show you how that cold air kind of cuts across the northeast United States and then it moves on out, and we have a little bit more of a pattern change thereafter. So looking at wind gusts here, and this is the higher elevations of the Green Mountains, and this is valid Sunday afternoon. That would be about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then it falls apart, and then it looks like the same thing, some good mixing conditions and some gustier winds here with these lighter greens. It looks like on Monday afternoon, this would be valid about 2 o'clock right here, and then this is about 8 p.m. So a little bit of gusty winds of really very low impact to be expected. We're looking at model skill here real quickly, and just wanted to show you, this goes back to the 1st of January, and you can see model skill, generally anything around 92, 93, pretty good shape. All perfect forecasts would be up around 1 here, or 100%. That would be a perfect forecast. Of course, that doesn't happen due to the chaos butterfly effect, and we'll probably never achieve that. But you can see certain times of the year, the model accuracy takes a little bit of a dip, and this is unfortunately one of those right here. The GFS models in red, the European in blue, and you can see the European score is a little bit higher than the GFS, although the GFS has been tweaked and it seems to be getting a little bit better and trying to catch up to the European. You can see right now the models take a little bit of a dive, and we're in one of those inaccurate periods right now with the model skill falling off. This is total accumulated 7-day total precipitation. So we're running here in Vermont roughly about an inch here. That's the blue line, so a little bit less in the northern areas. And again, this is valid going into Wednesday to Wednesday. High temperatures, where do they stand in terms of anomalous as compared to normal? We're running about 3, 4, 5 degrees below normal in general. Roughly, that's good for the next 5 days, and then beyond that period, a little bit closer to seasonal normal weighted, as we have a little bit warming trend here, tries to make some inroads. But generally cooler than normal, at least through the first half of May. Still looking at some snowfall totals that happened last week, and still included within the 7-day period here. Most snows generally along and east of the Green Mountains, but that's a long ways from happening. I want to leave you on this note. Notice around Vermont here and adjacent parts of Canada, temperatures running about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees below normal. The areas that have been above normal have been the southeast U.S. and the Pacific Northwest, and along, of course, the west coast of the Canadian, British Columbia into the Yukon and Northwest Territories. But look at the Arctic. The Arctic has been experiencing well above normal temperatures. In some cases here, you're talking 8, 9, 10 above normal here for months on end. And again, this is, of course, over the past a couple of weeks. And the other thing is this part of Greenland, right through the southwestern coast here, has lost about 12% of the ice sheet, which is a significant phenomena that occurred the first part of April. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.